Shin Megami Tensei is a game where you use demons along with your friends to try and save the world. But what if you didn't want to enlist the help of demons and were deathly afraid of talking to women? Can you beat Shin Megami Tensei with only the hero? Let's find out. Before we start, let me get into the rules of this run. I am only allowed to use the hero in battle. If other party members are forced into my party, they are only allowed to guard. I must remain neutral aligned for this run to have access to the most amount of bosses. I have to play on the hardest difficulty, which is expert. And finally, this video will contain spoilers for this game, so if you haven't played it and plan on it, then I would recommend clicking off the video. Like always, I will be leaving timestamps of all the bosses I fight in the description, so if you want to see a specific boss, then look there. After starting the game, we get dragged through this red room where a wall stops us and asks for our name. I of course go with the classic name Subscribe, which you should do if you end up liking this video. We distribute our stat points and I go for a build focusing on strength and vitality with a couple points in speed, since the protagonist of this game can't learn magic. We then get asked to name the law hero, who I name Makoto after the protagonist of Persona 3. All the characters who aren't me are getting all their stat points dumped into luck because I won't be using them at all. We then have to name the Chaos Hero, who I named Eikichi Money, after the best character in Persona 2. I added the $sign after his name because I thought it was cool. We wake up and see that someone sent us a file for a demon summoning program, so naturally we download it immediately. We leave our room and our mom tells us to go get her some coffee, so we head to the mall. But before we are able to get coffee for her, we run into a man that has a demon pop out of him. The man drops the knife that he had on him, so in a move of pure genius, we pick it up and take it with us. We then head to the cafe where we finally get some coffee for our mom and are able to return home. We get some sleep and in our dream we get to pick out a name for this game's heroine, so I name her Aerith, since I had just played Final Fantasy VII for the first time and the name was fresh in my mind. After wandering around for a bit, we run into the police, who arrest us most likely due to the fact that we have a bloody knife in our pocket. In our jail cell, we find none other than Makoto from our dream, who joins our party. We make our way through the hospital-turned-prison and find the hospital director, who turns out to be the demon Orias. At this point in the game, healing items are very limited, so I had to be very careful on how I use my ointment, since I only had a few. After getting up to level 5, I finally felt ready to take on the boss. We do pretty good damage to him, but he can also kill us in only a couple of hits. What I noticed is that he likes spamming ailment moves more than attacking, so as long as I got lucky with how much he attacked, beating him was relatively easy. If we go back to the mall, we can find Eikichi Money being beaten by Ozawa's gang. We save him from the gang members and he joins our party. We then head home and see that our mom is acting weird. We confront her and she reveals that she is actually the demon Sakugami. This fight is nothing to write home about. We slash at him with our sword and heal using items called cow liver extracts, which claim to heal you for about 100 HP, but in reality it's never over 60 to 70. After a while, Sakugami goes down to our sword. Our next stop is the Echo Building, which is where we will fight our next boss, Douman. Normally Douman would be fought with 2 party members along with some demons, but because of the rules of this run, I'm going to have to fight him solo, which is easier said than done. He has about 400 health, which may not seem like a lot, but I only do 14 damage with my sword, meaning I have to hit him 29 times to kill him. The main problem is that he has the move Shibabu, which binds me, preventing me from doing anything until it wears off, which sometimes only took 1 turn, and other times took like 20. And since most of his attacks do good damage, being bound is practically a death sentence. If I was going to beat him, I was going to need a different strategy. If you go to a neutral healer, you can buy an item called Hama Arrows. The price is pretty steep at 3,000 yen each, but instead of doing 14 damage a hit, I would be doing 48 damage a hit, lowering the amount of turns I would have to take fighting him from 29 to just 9 turns. Using this new strategy, I was able to take down Douman in only a couple of attempts. After the fight, we take the terminal to Shinjuku and go to the neutral bar, where the bartender asks us some questions. Correctly answering them gives us access to the bar matchbook, which allows us access into the basement, where we can meet the leader of the resistance, who is none other than this game's heroine, Aerith. She tells us that a man named Goutou is using demons to try and get what he wants. She also tells us that the American military is here to put a stop to the demon invasion by any means possible. After agreeing to help her, Yuriko enters the room and kidnaps Aerith, so our next stop is to find where she went and save her. Before we go help her, I decided to fight an optional mini-boss that you might not have heard of. If you go to the top left of Shinjuku, you can find a building, and if you explore it, you can find Ozawa, who says he doesn't have time to be talking to us. He sends his Baycock at us, and we have to fight it. Baycock does a lot of damage to us and has Shibabu, but since he only has 103 health, he isn't very hard to deal with, going down very easily. Distractions out of the way, we head to the Tokyo government building to go save Aerith. When we enter, we stand as part of the crowd, but Yuriko notices us and calls us out. We walk over to her and she sends multiple hordes of demons after us. The first wave is 8 zombie cops who don't deal very much damage to me and go down in one hit to my sword attacks. The next wave is against 8 army zombies who I use a Maharagi stone on, which deals huge damage to them, but it's kinda hard to attack them since they kill me in 2 turns and I can't fully heal myself in 1 turn. Also, for some reason, after I defeat some of them, they can call for backup, which brings in more army zombies at full health. If I'm gonna win against them, I need to win fast so they don't have a chance to call in reinforcements. To beat them fast, I led with the Maharagi stone before using Hama arrows, which was enough combined damage to kill them all in 2 turns. The next wave is against 4 army zombies and 4 lemures. Using Hama arrows kills both groups in 1 turn each. The final wave is against 4 lemures and 2 ghouls. This wave was nothing special. I just used Hama arrows on the lemures and killed the ghouls with my sword. After the fight, we rescue the heroine and meet up at a neutral bar, where Makoto and Eikichi Money leave us to pursue their own goals, while Aerith joins us to stop Goutou and the American army. Before we can actually fight anyone, we have to go to the American embassy along with Goutou's place to hear the both of them out. Since I'm doing a neutral playthrough this game, I can't agree with either of them. Not that I would want to anyways. This means that we have to fight the both of them, starting with Goutou. Before we can fight Goutou himself, he sends his demons at us, starting off with the Picasa and Niou. We quickly gun down the Picasa along with the Niou. The next wave is against a Baycock and a Shade. This is a lot harder than the first wave, due to the Baycock having Mudo, which can instantly kill us if it lands. But we do take them down relatively easy using our guns. Goutou himself is a lot harder than his minions, having 3 moves which are all painful to deal with. He has Shibabu, which you guys already know is deadly, Diorama, which allows him to heal himself for about 100 health, which is about 5 turns worth of damage. And his last move is called Critical, which just has him deal a critical hit to us, dealing upwards of 40 damage. This fight is going to be hard, and my sword is not going to be enough to kill him. You might already know my solution to this fight, but allow me to introduce you to another tool that is going to be helping me throughout the game. Pentagrams can be bought from the Chaos Healers and reflect 1 magic attack back at the enemy. The effect doesn't go away after the turn ends, it lasts until it is activated, meaning we are fully safe from Shibabu. Funnily enough, Goutou is not immune to being bound, which allows us to bound him with his own attack, preventing him from moving. This actually happened on my winning attempt, and he was bound for like 10 turns, allowing me to easily take him down. Next up is Ambassador Thorman, who unsurprisingly turns out to be Thor. Thor is a lot easier than Goutou. Using pentagrams, we can bounce his own electric attacks back at him, which deals a huge 50 damage to him. This, combined with Hama arrows, allows us to take him down very quickly. After Thor goes down, he decides that he's going to nuke Tokyo anyways. We try running out of the building, but it's not like we're going to outrun a nuke. Before we die, Aerith teleports us to safety, and we end up in a blue dungeon called the Kongo Kai. This dungeon sucks. I was stuck in this blue hell of a dungeon for like 6 hours, and you will soon find out why. But for now, we are told to go find Makoto and Eikichi Money. After finding them, we return to Enno Otsuno, and he tells us to go get him some soma. So after getting him some soma, he tells us to go get more. And after we do that, Makoto and Eikichi Money leave to go do their own thing, and we get told to go fight 2 mysterious strangers somewhere in the dungeon. I find the mysterious blue stranger who has Shibabu, Agilao, and Miragi. That moveset might not seem like that big of a deal. I can just use pentagrams to deflect those attacks, right? That's what I would say, but I can't buy any of those items in the Kongo Kai, and I accidentally saved over the save I had before entering the Kongo Kai. The mysterious blue stranger has 310 HP, and I deal about 12 damage to him on average. This means I have to attack him about 26 times, which is terrible because he can bind me, does over 80 damage with Agilao, and does nearly 60 damage with his basic attack. I had to grind before trying to beat this fight, and I grinded a lot. It was probably over an hour of grinding in this dungeon. After gaining a few levels, I went back to the fight while poisoned and realized something. Being poisoned has no effect on the player while in battle, and enemies can inflict you with the bind ailment while you are poisoned. This is where I came up with a strategy I call the poison strategy. Basically, I would intentionally go into fights poisoned so that I couldn't be inflicted with any other ailments. This strategy helped a lot in this fight, but there were still 3 problems. The boss has insane attack damage. The poison effect has a random chance to be cured after each turn, leaving me open to being binded, and my attacks do pitiful damage. Along with that, cow liver extracts were not going to cut it in terms of healing. And while grinding, I realized that most enemies have a small chance to drop jewels, which fully heal you. So by putting all these strategies together, I eventually had a fight where this happened. The next boss is the mysterious red stranger, who isn't as bad as the blue one, but still took me forever to beat due to one move. He does a lot less damage than the blue stranger, but he has diorama, meaning that he can heal himself for 100 HP whenever he wants. It takes me 5 turns to outdamage diorama once, so if he uses it more than once every 5 turns, then there is no way for me to outdamage him. This fight is entirely dependent on luck. It took me about an hour and a half to beat him. One time I was 2 hits away from killing him, and he casted diorama twice in a row, practically resetting the fight. But after a while, I was lucky enough to kill him, finally allowing me to move on. Returning to Eno Osuno, he unlocks the exits to the Kongo Kai, finally allowing us to leave. But not before a fight against Goki and Zenki. This fight is hard, not only because it's a 2v1, but because Goki has Tarukaja, and when combined with Zenki's critical move, he can do upwards of 130 damage. This is another fight that took me a lot of luck to beat. I could have grinded some more to make it easier, but that makes a boring video, and I don't want to have to stare at the walls of this blue hell for any longer than I need to. My strategy for this fight was to target Goki first since he has Tarukaja. This is hard to do since I have to heal often from both them attacking me at once, and Zenki has Zionga. In case you didn't know, Atlas was asleep at the wheel while designing electric attacks in this game, and for some reason when they hit you, the chance of being stunned is basically guaranteed. So if Zenki outspeeds me, then I don't get a chance to attack or heal for that turn. After a while, I was able to get an attempt where I killed Goki, and after that, the fight becomes pretty easy. Just make sure to heal often so you don't risk being stun locked for like 5 turns in a row and dying. After a while, Zenki went down, allowing me to finally leave the blue hell that is the Kongo Kai. When we leave the Kongo Kai, we see that the nuke Thorman dropped on Tokyo did quite a number on the place. We head to the old Resistance hideout, and a man named the Soul Diver is there, who tells us to go save Aerith. She's in Shibuya, so we head there to go get her, but before we can do that, we have to free the Soul Diver who is under Ozawa's control. We head upstairs and find Ozawa, who recognizes us and summons Takeminakata, who attacks us once and does so much damage that we have to run away. Eikichi Money wants us to fuse him with the demon so he can get stronger, so we do just that before heading back for a rematch. Takeminakata has a variety of magic attacks, along with Shivabu, but now that we're back in Tokyo, we have access to pentagrams and Hama arrows again, so we can make sure we are 100% safe from being binded. We do big damage to him, and because of this, he goes down easily. We free the Soul Diver from the basement and head to Shibuya. We then gain access to Aerith's Mind, which is a maze-like dungeon with warps and an incredibly high encounter rate. We make it to the boss of the dungeon, Arachne, who has a moveset based on inflicting ailments. She can inflict us with Sleep and Charm. Sleep isn't that bad, and we normally recover from it in a turn or 2, but Charm lasts much longer and makes us attack ourselves. She also has the highest health out of any boss we've fought so far, at 700. Despite all of that, she doesn't really do much damage, so we just have to be careful when inflicted with ailments, and after a while she goes down. We leave Aerith's Mind and she joins us. Oh, and I forgot to say this, but after Eikichi Money got powers, he left the party to go do his own thing. If we go through a tunnel southeast of the city that has a barrier around it, we can make it to Roppongi. This place, for now at least, is void of any demons. That's because the city was made to keep Alice happy. You can talk to Alice on the 3rd floor, where she asks us to go get a hexagram for her. After getting it and returning it to her, she then asks us to die for her, which we deny, and after that, Count Red, who is one of her bodyguards, turns into Belial. We aren't able to beat him here. To beat him, we have to go into the basement and get an item called the Glancing Pot that we can seal him in. Yuriko appears and tells us to hand over the pot. If you deny her, she binds you and takes the pot anyways, so it doesn't really matter what you say. On the way out, we run into Count Black, who is Alice's other bodyguard. He tries killing us, but Makoto jumps in front of us, sacrificing his life for ours. What we have to do now is go into the basement, where we can now fight him in his true form, Nebiros. He has over 1000 HP and has Muda, which I can reflect with pentagrams, but has no effect on him, and I have a limited amount, so I can't spam them. He managed to kill me a couple times, and during that, I realized that I can't play conservative with my pentagrams. I have to just use them when I can, and try not to space out the uses. After a few tries, with a bit of luck, he goes down. Makoto's ghost thanks us for freeing his soul, and as he dies, a servant of God appears and invites him into heaven. We leave Roppongi and make it to a fork in the road with multiple options for our next location. Makoto then appears and tells us that someone at the Tokyo Metropolitan Office is using robots to create a police force, and that we should put a stop to it. This dungeon is optional, and the reward we get from it serves no purpose to us, but I decided to do it anyway, because I wanted to fight every boss I could for this video. Going through the dungeon is easier said than done. It has multiple dark areas, along with some tough random encounters, but I do manage to make it to the end. We find a room with a mad scientist in it that sends a squad of robots at us. I only needed to use 2 Hama arrows to kill them all, so they go down easily. Once we take them down, we are presented with an option to destroy the security system, and after hitting yes, it activates and starts attacking us. This boss, despite being a monitor and not having a body, is actually pretty hard and took me quite a bit to kill. It only has 2 moves, Shock, which if used before my turn makes it so I won't be able to attack, and it somehow has a physical attack that does nearly 90 damage. How does it use physical attacks without a body? Anyways, it has 1310 health, meaning that with my 15 damage per turn on average, I'll have to attack him for 44 turns. I didn't really have a strategy for this fight, it was just attack and heal when needed, and after a while I got lucky enough to finally destroy the security system. I head out of the building and go to our next stop, Ginza. If we head down to the 2nd floor basement, we run into a summoner who is blocking our path. He says that he will only let us through if we pay him 10,000 Maka. Even if you do pay him, he doesn't let you through, so we have to fight him. Unlike most prior summoner battles, this one gave me quite a bit of trouble. He starts out with a wave of 8 Picasa, and I use Hama arrows on them to take them all out in just 2 turns. Next up is 8 Baycock, which are tricky to deal with due to them all having Mudo and Shibabu. But just like the last wave, 2 turns of Hama arrows are enough to take them down. The final wave is against 8 Loki, which is where the fight really picks up in difficulty. They can do good damage to me with their attacks and are way more tanky than the last 2 waves of enemies, needing 3 Hama arrows, a dragon ATM, and some gun attacks to take them down. I also realized after I had already gotten them low that my gun does way more damage to them than any of my items, allowing me to take them down way easier than before. After the fight, the summoner lets us through and we go through the tunnel and end up in Shinagawa. There are a few things that we need to do while we're here. On the 4th floor, we run into another devil summoner who attacks us. The first wave of demons is 8 Niou, who go down very easily to my gun. The next wave is 8 Sawubaku, who are a lot more resilient than the previous wave of demons. I practically threw the whole kitchen sink at them trying to see what did the most damage, but my strategy just ended up being using my gun to take them all out. It's very slow, but it can hit a lot of them at once, eventually allowing us to take them out. The next wave is against 8 Barbigazi, who are very annoying to deal with. They do good damage to me with their physical attacks, and they can potentially freeze me with their ice attacks, which waste my turn if they go before me. My gun does decent damage to them, but I have to be really careful during this fight. If I heal too late, I can potentially not be able to heal before the enemies kill me. But after a while of shooting, they all go down, netting us the 4 Gates orb, which we are going to make use of later. On the 3rd floor, we can run into Makoto, who tells us that God brought him back to life and that he is going to fight on the side of the angels. He asks us to defeat Echidna, who lives east of Tokyo, because she is planning on destroying the cathedral that's being built. While we are going to eventually fight Echidna, we're not going to be doing it for his sake, because we have to get the neutral ending for this run. Before heading to Echidna, I head to the southern manor and use the 4 gates orb we just got to open a door, allowing us to fight Komokuten. There are 4 of these fights throughout the game in different parts of Tokyo that we can now access due to having the 4 gates orb. Komokuten loves to spam Zan-based attacks, which don't do very much to us. But he also has Shibabu, which we need to be aware of. Despite all of that, he goes down really easily. I then head to the western manor where we can fight Zochoten. He is kind of like the previous fight, except he has electric attacks, making him worse to deal with. He can also buff his attack with Tarakaja, which allows his physical attacks to deal nearly 100 damage to us. Despite all this, he isn't too difficult if you stay healthy and keep a steady supply of jewels to stay healed. We head back to the Great Underground Tunnel, and this time head west where we run into Eikichi Money. He asks us if we want to duel him, and we say yes, but he says he was only kidding. He then tells us to not continue on to Ikebukuro for our own good, but if we listen to him we can't progress any further, so we decide to go anyway the second he leaves. The second we emerge from the tunnel, he finds us and takes us to court, where Yama will decide our sentence. He tells us that he will drop all charges on us if we agree to stop the completion of the cathedral. I say no because I didn't want to take sides, and we get arrested and thrown in prison. In our cell, there isn't much that we can do, but if we talk to Aerith and then check back with the bars, Eikichi lets us out. This prison is filled with encounters. It seems like most of the time there are encounters every few steps. It's definitely a slog to get out of here, but after a while we run into Niou, who is blocking the exit to the prison. This fight sucks. It is one of the hardest fights in the game for this challenge run. He has 1520 HP, Shibabu, hits like a truck with physical attacks, and to top it all off has Rakakaja, which is not listed on his wiki page and is the worst move he has. It might not seem too bad, but it takes our average damage from 24 a turn to just 8 damage a turn. Divide that by his health, and that's 190 turns of attacking him to kill him. This fight took me a long time to beat, and the attempt at him where I finally finished him off was over 30 minutes long, and that's with emulator speedups. I could beat Nyx from Persona 3 in less time than this boss. Like a lot of other bosses in this game, there is no real strategy other than hitting him with your sword and healing when you need to, and if you get lucky, you will go down, allowing you to finally leave the prison. I'm not going to leave quite yet though. There is still one more boss for us to fight here. If you head to the second floor, you can go back to the courthouse that our trial took place in and fight Yama. Yama has some fire attacks along with Mudun, which is similar to Mudo but hits multiple targets, and because of this has a lower overall instant kill chance. This fight can be tough, but I had an item called a talisman, which are similar to pentagrams but only ward off curse attacks like Mudo. This works in our favor because we won't have to worry about using them all up on reflecting the wrong attacks. This fight thankfully isn't nearly as hard as the previous, only taking a few attempts to successfully take him down. Leaving the courthouse, we run into Eikichi again, who seems shocked that we were able to take down Yama, and runs off to get stronger by the next time we see him. As soon as we leave, I head to the northern manor where I fight Bishamonten. I deal pretty good damage to him, and he can't really hurt me very much with any of his attacks, so I can win this fight on auto battle with only a couple stops to heal myself. Not much can be said about any of these manor fights except that they are all very easy and give a lot of experience points. I decide to get the last of the 4 fights out of the way by heading to the eastern manor to fight Jikokuten. He also goes down on auto battle, but this time I didn't have to stop to heal once. With all those fights out of the way, I head to the next stop, Ueno. There are a couple things we need to do while in Ueno. First, I went and found a devil summoner for an optional fight. This is probably the hardest devil summoner fight in the game, and it took me nearly half an hour to beat. The first wave is against 8 corpses, which take a lot of damage from gun attacks, but are also relatively tanky and have the ability to stun us, which doesn't seem to be able to wear off in battle. The next wave is against 8 phantoms. These guys aren't that hard to deal with, going down relatively easy to our sword. The next wave is against 4 legions and 4 Yaka. I was struggling with these guys for a while when I realized that I can deal good damage to both of them using Hama arrows. So after restocking on Hama arrows, I was able to take them down easily, allowing us to move on to the second thing we have to do here. If we head down to the second basement floor, we can find a room that has Ladon in it. Ladon has something we need for story progression, so we need to fight him. He has some threatening moves normally, like multi-target attacks, but as just the hero, they aren't very bad to deal with, allowing me to take him down easily, getting us the golden apple, which we need to progress. If we head to the Nihonbashi area, we can run into a Cerberus. If we use the golden apple we just got on him, he lets us through, allowing us passage to Tokyo Destinyland. We head inside and run into Eikichi Money again, who now has a partner named Rie. He tells us that Echidna is here and that we should go listen to what she has to say. This is the same person that Makoto warned us about earlier. The dungeon itself is very complicated, with things like traps that can trip if your luck stat isn't high enough, and also warps and pitfalls, which you have to use if you want to progress in the dungeon. Despite having played this game before, I got lost multiple times trying to make my way to Echidna and back. Once we make it to her, she asks us if we can take out the angel Haniel, who is in Shinagawa. I say yes to this because I just broke out of a chaos prison earlier and wanted to stay neutral. If we head back to Shinagawa and enter the room where we saw Makoto earlier, Haniel appears and starts up a fight with us. Haniel has some tough moves to deal with, like Mazionga, which can shock us, and Marin Karin, which can charm us. Being charmed in this game isn't the worst thing ever. It can cause you to hit yourself if you choose to attack, but you don't have to attack if you're charmed. I chose to guard until the effect wore off, which allowed me to take less damage from Haniel, along with avoiding having to hit myself. Despite all the ailments he can inflict on me, he doesn't deal very much damage and takes a lot of damage from my gun attack, so I'm able to take him down pretty quickly. We return to Echidna, who this time wants us to join her in taking over the cathedral. This time I decline her request, and she gets mad and starts up a fight with us. This fight wasn't very hard. All of her skills can inflict ailments, but I came into this fight poisoned, and because of that, she couldn't paralyze me. She also took a lot of damage from my gun attacks, and since I have happy bullets equipped, each turn I had a decent chance of inflicting her with the happy ailment, which can cause her to lose a turn. So after a while of shooting her, she goes down. If we return to the Ginza tunnels, we can find an old man who allows us access into the cathedral. If we head down the hallway, we hear voices on both sides. One is Makoto, and the other is Eikichi Money. After talking to both of them, the walls start shaking and they ask us to go outside and see what happened. Before we head outside, I help this Turdak who is in a room on the lost side of the cathedral. Stepping outside the cathedral, we see that all that Tokyo has been flooded. I head to the Imperial Palace by riding the Turdak we just got, and we can meet Makoto. Since we're on the neutral route, he gives us his sword, which is one of the best swords in the game. I then leave the palace and ride Turdak over all the manors from earlier in the game, and by doing this I can get the full set of Makoto armor, which is the best armor in the neutral route of the game. Now what we have to do is traverse the flooded city and kill Vishnu, Ravana, and Indrajit. Vishnu is located on the 48th floor of the left Tokyo government office. With our new sword, along with our new armor, it makes it so that we deal truckloads of damage to our enemies, and they deal pitiful damage to us. This equipment is definitely overpowered and allows us to take down Vishnu very easily. Ravana and Indrajit are on the right side of the Tokyo government office. They both don't have very much health and deal next to no damage to me, so they go down very easily. With both of them dead, we are now able to progress into the cathedral to fight the Law and Chaos bosses. I went with the Law bosses first, starting with Uriel, and well, he doesn't really put up much of a fight. You might have noticed this already, but by this point in the game I'm pretty overpowered. Makoto's sword and armor are very good. I went from doing around 15 damage per hit to bosses to now over 100 damage. Bosses in this game are kind of known for not having very much health, and in a standard playthrough there aren't any hard bosses in the game. But this run has changed that. It gave me a new challenge that wasn't present in the game before. But now we have the best gear in the game, so let's make the cathedral our victory lap. Next up is Gabriel, who actually nulls sword damage. But I also splurged and got the best gun in the game, so he's not very hard to take down. Raphael is next, and I mean, what do you think happened? Before fighting the final law boss, we have to fight Makoto, who is the easiest boss in the cathedral, dying for a second time faster than he did the first. We then make it to Michael, and instead of telling you how the fight went, I'm going to quiz you on this video so far to see if you're paying attention. First question. What was the hardest boss so far? A. Niou, B. Bishamonten, C. Mysterious Blue Stranger, or D. Goutou? I'll give you a few seconds to think. If you answered C, you are correct. I'll let you off the hook for now, but prepare to answer more questions soon. After defeating Michael, we head to the Chaos part of the cathedral. The first boss is Surt, who, you guessed it, goes down easily. Astaroth is up next, but it's time for our second quiz question. When did the original SNES version of this game come out? A. 1993, B. 1991, C. 1992, or D. None of the above? If you answered D, you are wrong. The correct answer is C. Moving on further into the cathedral, we come across the next boss, Arioch, who is immune to sword attacks but not gun attacks, so we shoot it until it dies. We then run into Louis Cypher, who is really a demon in disguise. Is it A, Lucifer, B, Lucifer, C, Lucifer, or D, Lucifer? If you guessed anything, you would be correct. Since Lucifer told us about Beelzebub, and I made a contractual agreement to fight every boss in the game, I dragged myself out of the cathedral and to Beelzebub Island to go fight Beelzebub. Despite being my favorite demon in SMT, I still had to kill him, but don't worry, he went down pretty quickly, so his death wasn't painful. Back in the cathedral, Eikichi Money tries to fight us, and despite the fact that he tried to get power for the entirety of the game, he isn't very powerful. After we take him down, his partner appears and turns into Lilith, who goes down just as easily. We then move on to the final boss of the game, King Asura. But more importantly for you, it's time for the final quiz question. How many of my challenge runs have I named the main character Subscrib, including this video? Is it A, 1, B, 4, C, 2, or D, 3? The correct answer is D. I've used this name in this video, my first Persona 2 challenge run, and in my Persona 1 run. Anyways, with King Asura dead, we can walk out of the cathedral in a land now free of law and chaos. So yes, you can beat Shin Megami Tensei with just the hero. This run was one of my weirder ones. The difficulty was all over the place in ways I could have never expected before making this video. Normally I would recommend any challenge runs I do on this channel as a new fun way to play the game, but I would have a hard time recommending this one. It can be very grindy at times, so if you're going to do something like this, maybe do it with the human party members, or with only a few demons at a time. Thanks for watching to this point in the video. If you liked it, then maybe you can subscribe. I make videos like this all the time, and I plan on doing this challenge again, but for SMT2. Although that's not going to be the next run I have planned. I'm planning on doing a run of SMT4 without spending Maka, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.